Hey guys, Weeby Newz here, and today I'm making a video discussing this seemingly forgotten Danganronpa spin-off game called Kirigiri Sou. At least it seems to be forgotten by a majority of the western part of the fandom. Literally, almost my entire channel is dedicated to Danganronpa, and somehow I just heard about this recently while researching for another video. So I figured a lot of you guys might not have heard of it as well, and might be interested in a video talking about it. But before we get into it, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN is a virtual private network, which means it gives you the ability to protect your online privacy. It keeps you safe and private by covering up everything you do online like a mask. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out, encrypted, and anyone who tries to snoop on you won't be able to see what you're doing or where you're doing it all from. They also gave me access to a really amazing deal for you guys. So if you scan the QR code on the video screen or click the link in the description, you get an insane deal where you can purchase the service with an 83% discount, and you even get 3 additional months free, and there's even a 30-day money-back guarantee in case you change your mind. But you might be thinking, Weeby, why do I even need this in the first place? Well, there's a lot of really great benefits to having Surfshark VPN. One of my favorites is that you can use it to change your location, which allows you to access shows only available in different countries on streaming services like Netflix or Hulu. Another thing I really like about Surfshark is just knowing that my information is safe wherever I go. For example, I like to go to cafes sometimes to work on my videos, just for a change of scenery, and so I can actually get out of the house sometimes. And it's just really nice to know that Surfshark will keep all my data safe while on public Wi-Fi. Overall, it's just a really great tool to help protect your information and make you feel safe no matter where you're using the internet. If you're interested in this service, I highly recommend the 24-month VPN plan. It's definitely the best VPN deal that I've seen out there. And like I said before, if you use my link or scan the QR code right here, you can get 83% off your purchase and get 3 months for free. It really is a great service and I highly recommend it. And like I said before too, they even have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, if you end up checking it out through my links, it really does help me a lot, and it allows me to keep working with awesome sponsorships such as Surfshark VPN. So once again, thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get back to talking about this mysterious Danganronpa game. Kirigiri Sou is a horror, suspense, mystery, adventure game released by Spike Chunsoft for Windows back in November of 2016. It was released as a part of the 3rd Blu-ray box set for the Danganronpa 3 anime. The game is the 2nd spin-off of the Danganronpa series, following Danganronpa Another Episode Ultra Despair Girls. It was also advertised as a sound novel, meaning it's a game that mostly consists of text with graphics only making up the background. Although the art is more atmospheric, it is in fact made by Rui Komatsuzaki, the lead artist for the mainline Danganronpa series as well. Timeline-wise, the story takes place between the Danganronpa Kirigiri light novel series and Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, so back when Kirigiri and the others were attending Hope's Peak Academy before the tragedy happened. For those of you who aren't familiar, Danganronpa Kirigiri is a set of 7 light novels written by Takekuni Kiriyama. The novels are told from the perspective of Yui Samadare, who works alongside Kyoko to explore the dual Nar cases. The events of the novels follow Kirigiri's time as a middle schooler, and they do in fact cover how she got the scars on her hands that she reveals in the 6th trial of Danganronpa 1. These books are canon to the Danganronpa timeline, and it's also notable that this game, Kirigiri Sou, was written by the same author as well. Kirigiri Sou is unique in that it also works as a crossover sequel to another Chunsoft game called Otogiri Sou, and that one was released all the way back in 1992. The game contained a horror mystery story, and the plot is described as so. In the game, Kohei and his girlfriend Nami are stopped when their car is hit by a falling tree that was struck by lightning. After wandering through the forest, they happen upon a large abandoned mansion. They decide to seek shelter there for the night, but little do they know the horrors that await them. The game was unfortunately never translated into English officially, but there was a movie based off of it that was released in 2001, and it even got an official English dub and sub-release a few years later in 2004. Also, for those of you who are interested in checking out this game, the channel Tara A. Devlin has an English translation of the game on their channel, so although you can't play it, you can experience the story there. I'll link that in the description too for those of you guys who are interested. The game got good reviews from what I've seen online, but it definitely does look super creepy, so you know, it might be a better game to play during the daytime if you do decide to play it. But getting back to Kirigiri Sou, the plot setup is pretty similar to Otogiri Sou. The main character, Kohei, is a normal college student with nothing unusual about him. While taking a shortcut home, he gets lost and ends up driving through a thick forest. Driving on the road that's difficult to see, Kohei meets a mysterious, beautiful girl named Kyoko Kirigiri and offers to give her a ride in his car. However, their drive together does not last long. Kohei gets into an accident and the two seek refuge in a nearby Western-style house. This house was actually where Kyoko was headed, but it has a strange atmosphere and a huge tree growing inside. The two are assaulted by a creepy suit of armor, a skull buried in the flower bed, and a girl who's a spitting image of Kyoko. Just like Kirigiri Sou, it was never translated into English, which is likely the main reason why it's rarely discussed among the Western fanbase. As for why it wasn't given an official English translation, I do have a few ideas. Since Kirigiri Sou, the game is based on, was never released in the West, I think it's likely Spike thought that the reference would go over the Western audience's heads. Another big part of the appeal of this game is how closely it relates to the Danganronpa Kirigiri novels, and how it was written by the same author. Even in the game, there's some references to the novels that aren't explained at all. It's as if the game just assumes that the player has already read them. So since two of the main reasons audiences might want to play this game were never localized in the West, I think it makes sense that they wouldn't want to localize this game either. But I do also want to say you don't have to read the novels or play Kirigiri Sou to understand the plot of this game. I've never played Kirigiri Sou, and I've only read a little bit of the Danganronpa Kirigiri novels, but I was still able to follow the story of this game. Basically what I'm trying to say is that these were likely like the biggest promotions for this game, and since Western audiences wouldn't be aware of them, they thought maybe people wouldn't want to play it in the first place. But just wanted to clarify that really quickly. And as for why the Danganronpa Kirigiri novels never got an official translation, it completely beats me. Like I said, I've read a little bit of them, and they were really good from what I've read, so if you guys want video summaries for those, let me know in the comments. I've been thinking of making videos on them for a while, but even though this game never received an official translation, there are some really good fan translations that allow you to experience the entirety of the story. On YouTube, there's a full playthrough of the game uploaded by the user JuicedUp14, where they translate the lines into English as they play along. The user Dr. Medic VG on Reddit posted a Google document based off of this, which contains all the dialogue from the playthrough but cleaned up. That way you can fully immerse yourself in the story. They also appear to have a YouTube channel where they cover Danganronpa novels like Danganronpa Kirigiri and Tagami Up. I'll be linking all of these in the description so you can check them out if you're interested in this game or those novels. Like a vast majority of visual novels, in Kirigiri Sou you're able to make decisions that lead to different story outcomes. And in this game there's 3 main story narratives, and one is actually canon to the Danganronpa series. I ended up reading through all the roots on the PDF file since I was curious, and honestly I really enjoyed myself. I think most Danganronpa fans will especially enjoy the canon storyline quite a bit. For those of you that want to be totally blind to this game and experience it for yourself, I recommend you exit the video now, since I'm going to start talking about some story details from each of the roots. So I'll give you guys a little bit of time to exit out of the video. Also, I do want to clarify that I'm not going to be giving full summaries in this video. I'm just going to be talking about some of the main plot points. For the rest of you, let's go ahead and talk about these. Although like I said, there's 3 main story narrative routes, the PDF doc split them along with the bad endings into 8 different parts. You can actually skip around and read them in whatever order you'd like, but I'd highly recommend reading them in the order of the document, since I believe the game unlocks different route paths as you play through certain ones, so it seems like the order JuicedUp14 played in was very close to how the creators would want you to experience the game. The main route I'm going to talk about in this video is titled the Plant Girl route, and this is the one that has the canon story and ending, but there's also a pretty big alternate branch to this path depending on what decisions you make. Both paths start off the same though. Kohei, the protagonist, is driving down the road and almost hits a mysterious girl named Kyoko Kirigiri with his car. Kohei, worried about this strange girl walking alone in the rain, offers her a ride. She accepts and they drive until a tree falls on his car. After this, they find a creepy Western-style mansion and end up trapped inside. You learn that this place was actually the location Kirigiri was looking for, and that she had an anonymous client that requested her services here. She also tells Kohei that this home is nicknamed the Man-Eating Mansion because those who visit it vanish. Like I mentioned before from the other short summary, they run into all sorts of crazy things inside. There's this weird large tree that immediately greets them right after entering the mansion, and Kohei describes that the tree has veins along its trunk that look like blood vessels. They also run into this creepy suit of armor that's filled to the brim with plants inside of it, and next to that there's a fireplace where clothes, identification cards, and papers are being burned. There they find a very lovely, not ominous at all note which reads, "Help me." There's other weird creepy areas inside the mansion too, such as the kitchen and the bedrooms, but the most notable event to happen is that they run into a girl who looks exactly like Kyoko. Although they look the same, their personalities seem totally different though, as she appears terribly frightened and timid. The main branch off in the game is determined by who you trust more, Kyoko or this girl who calls herself Kyoka. But in both endings, you learn about the nature of the man-eating mansion, which is that someone decided to play God and experiment on plants by combining their DNA with the DNA of humans and animals. You also learn that Kyoka has been feeding them humans as their nutrition so that they can eventually turn into humans, and this is why so many people disappear after visiting the mansion. If you decide to trust Kyoko, then you both work together to fight off the plant girl after learning the truth. Kyoka is eventually killed during the confrontation too when Kohei pours pesticide on her, but if you instead trust Kyoka more, you surprisingly unlock the true ending, which explains more of the story. In this ending, you learn that she was created because the person running the experiments used DNA from exceptional humans, including Hope's Peak Academy students. And of course, for Kyoka's creation, they used the DNA of the ultimate detective Kyoko Kirigiri that they had gathered from quote-unquote police evidence material. In this route, since you trust the very lovely and not suspicious at all Kyoka, she rewards you by trying to feed you to her plant friends and then guilt-tripping you when you get upset. After Kohei escapes, he discovers a diary which contains entries from Kyoka, and these reveal that she's a lonely and sad creature who's always dreamed of becoming human. He sympathizes with her, simp, and asks her to escape the mansion alongside him. Kyoka is moved, but she tells him that it's too late for her to leave and blend in with society since she's killed so many people already. She also tells him that she'll never truly be human. After this, she burns down the mansion while inside in order to redeem herself for her past actions. The plants from the burning mansion deliver Kyoka's body to our two protagonists, and they're able to grant her a proper burial. Later, Kohei decides to return to the mansion's location, and there he sees a beautiful flower growing from her grave. So overall, even though you do survive in both of these routes, the true end is more sympathetic to Kyoka, which allows you to learn more about her personality and the lore of the mansion. The other notable routes are non-canon and pretty ridiculous, to be totally honest. The main non-canon route is called Extraterrestrials versus Earth Plants Against Invaders Defense Force route. And as the name of the route sounds, it's basically a shitpost. The story and the lore of the mansion is completely different in this route, although it starts out pretty similar at first, with you and Kirigiri entering the mansion together. Inside, you end up running into the ultimate botanist, Santa Shakiba. As a refresher, he's a very minor character in Danganronpa 1. He's mentioned just briefly as the person who created the giant flower in the old school building that would eventually be known as the Monokuma flower. It's also implied that he was the person in the canon route that was experimenting on the plants that turned into the man-eating monsters. I'm assuming he didn't support the human-eating aspect, but I also couldn't find any part that confirmed that. In this route though, instead of focusing on the human-eating plants, instead it focuses on these cute little alien mouse-looking guys, which are called Rhinogridentia. Although, I guess I shouldn't say little guys, since Kohei states that they're an entire meter long. Santa and Kyoka in this version tell our protagonists that they're the Earth Plants Against Invaders Defense Force, and that they're working to fight against the Rhinogridentia, an advanced alien species that's trying to invade Earth. After working alongside them, you eventually learn that Kyoka is in fact a secret alien spy for the Rhinogridentia, and when this is revealed, she refers to herself as the super galaxy level invader, which was just so stupid that I found it absolutely hilarious. You also learn that the aliens' true mission is to wipe out the human population in order to save the planet, since, you know, humans are ruining it with deforestation and stuff like that. One interesting Easter egg in the story is that the UFO in this game is based off the Adamski model, which was created by George Adamski in the 1940s, who claimed to have seen several UFOs. And this is the same model used in Ultra Despair Girls and possibly Hagakure's alien story in Danganronpa 1 too. Although it's a bit more difficult to tell in that frame since the ship is blurry, but the outline does look kind of close. But yeah, like I said, this route is pretty out there in comparison to the other one. I thought I was like reading it wrong when I started getting into all this alien lore. I even thought maybe Santa was just like lying to them about all of this to feed them to the plants later, but no, it just fully commits to this alien story. Also, one of the funniest parts of this route is that Santa ends up sacrificing himself and resurrecting like 3 different times. The first time, it's so emotional. They're all mourning his death and so grateful for his sacrifice. But then he just like pops up out of nowhere, and then he does it again. And then he even does it again after that. It was probably my favorite gag from this route. The characters were just so dramatic every time he quote unquote died. The final story story is just called Extra Scenario. It's pretty short as well, which is why I think it's not considered a full route. It's also extremely memey too. You enter the mansion with Kirigiri like in the canon route, but the tone is totally different. Kirigiri is completely out of character and is like flirting with Kohei a bunch. That's how you know this route isn't canon, because she would never cheat on Nagi. It mostly consists of taking the creepy scenes from the canon route and turning them on their head and making the outcome ridiculous instead. Like for example, instead of them seeing that creepy suit of armor, instead it's Hagakure in front of the fireplace for absolutely no explainable reason. He doesn't even have a single line, he's just there. And Kirigiri's like, dope, Hagakure is here. And that's like basically it. The scene where they discover the clothes and identification cards and the help me message being burned in the fireplace is also instead replaced with them finding a sweet potato being roasted, which then Kohei and Kirigiri begin to fight over. After Kohei takes a bite, Kirigiri gets all flustered too because it becomes an indirect kiss. So yeah, like I said, she is not herself at all in this route. It's just very memey and ridiculous, even more so than the alien route, which I was kind of surprised about. Both of these scenarios, like I said before, are confirmed to be non-canon. According to the Wikipedia page, the non-canon narrative chapters, Extraterrestrials versus Earth Plants Against Invaders Defense Force, and Extra Scenario are respectively depicted in the canon narrative as dreams being had by Kohei, after almost crashing his car during the beginning and ending scenes of the Plant Girl and Extra Scenario, with the scenes of the Extra Scenario depicting Kohei as awake being set an unspecified amount of time after the events of Plant Girl. Overall, I really enjoyed the canon stories. I felt that it was a good self-contained mystery, and I also enjoyed it because it's always nice to see more of Kirigiri. As for the non-canon ones, I thought they were funny, but I felt like the alien one went on for a little too long. I think it's mostly because I was just so confused at first when I was reading it. I think if I would have realized it was just a meme from the beginning, I probably would have enjoyed it more. Like I mentioned before though, there were some pretty funny moments, and you can tell the author had a ton of fun writing it, which I do think adds to its enjoyment. I was a little disappointed that the route that Santa appeared in was the non-canon one, since I've always been curious to learn more about him. But with that being said, you do get to see his personality and the creepy experiments he was working on through both routes, which is definitely the most substantial depiction of him so far. Anyways, this will conclude the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There are some bad endings and one alternate ending that I didn't cover in this video, but those are pretty short, so I recommend you guys either watch the playthrough or read the PDF document if you're interested in hearing about those. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of this spin-off story. Had you heard about it before, or did you just learn about it like me? Also, what do you think of the stories, the canon one and the non-canon one? Do you agree with my opinion or do you disagree? But yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you did, and I will see you guys real soon.